based off of both of those two inputs, right? The way supply and demand is manifested here, as you just described, through the bidders and the askers. Right. They have to make the market by actually having a demand for both buying and selling, and then whoever does the market order, right, sets the price for that particular thing, and that's the price until the next market order. Is that right?
Kind of. You have to realize though that the market maker, right, basically will set the price based on the parameters.
Correct.
So it's not based on
no. I know what you're saying.
It's supply and demand.
Market makers are not doing valuation.
You can just start it.
Market makers are not doing valuation analysis. I understand.
Not at all.
I know their role. I understand their role. And you're telling me that if they all of a sudden decide to go on strike, then orders won't be filled, right?
They'll be filled by
massive spreads.
The spreads will widen.
Correct.
And there was no market maker.
Correct. And the thing there is that the person that placed the order with the intention of investing, let's just use that word for the sake. Let's assume that guy did his homework and did Excel things and said, this is an undervalued stock and I want to purchase it. Right. And he hits the buy button. It's either going to go to one of those guys for a tight spread, or if they're asleep at the wheel, it's going to go to whoever else has one, right?
It's going to go into the system. Book. There's an order book, and it will get filled wherever it finds a fill on a market order.
Intimately correct, which is what you need in order to execute an actual price, right?
No market order. No, you can execute on a limit order.
But you don't execute the limit order. You need the market guy. You need the market order guy to hit the limit.
Somebody can hit the bid.
Well, 2 limits, fine, okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right,
fine. 2 limits hitting at the same
time. Okay, fair enough. All right, technicalities, right? So here's the automated market maker concept, which is brilliant. They're like, all right, so let's just represent this story that I just told you in a mathematical formula way, right? If you have a lot of people that want, right, and there's a scarce number of the thing they want,
sellers,
right? That means that the pressure is going to make the price go up. Correct. And there's a formula that represents that. Some guy in crypto said, then why do we need those guys for? I'm like, well, because they need to actually place they need to fill the order book. Right. Otherwise, what are you going to do? They're like, why do you need to fill the order book? If you've already explained to me that supply and demand are the two variables, why don't you plug them into the formula, set the price automatically, you have a liquidity pool, and then you have it automatically set it up. In other words, you take, let's say they're trading, Tesla. So you take, 500,000 shares of Tesla, and you take $500,000 worth of Tesla stocks, the equivalent. So 500,000 shares.
50,000 shares of Tesla to buy.
And the dollar equivalent in cash. Okay. You take both of those into the bucket, and you leave them in the bucket. You plug them into the computer, and you leave them there. And you say, "I'd like you, computer, to take over the market-making responsibilities," because you both have the ability to purchase stocks in case somebody wants to sell it to you with your cash bucket, or if somebody wants to buy it from you, you have the shares bucket from which you give it to you. And then you will assign a price based off of this mathematical formula given to us by economists, whereby the price goes up if there's this imbalance. And so it's basically an automated market maker. You literally just dump liquidity into this technological pool with the rules based off of Econ 101, and all of a sudden you get price without actual humans having to intervene, which is brilliant. It has problems. And now I'm seeing
got lots of problems.
Arbitrage, dude. So problems means money, right? And now what I'm starting to see is these hybrid systems, whereby you can have these automated market makers as a underlying backup. You can have a primary mechanism be at market makers, order books, and then you can have it supplemented, because you can have an order book with tight spreads from this price to this price, and then from here on down the increments, right? Maybe you're doing like cents, and now you're doing dollars and dollars, right? So you're saying, well, why don't we have the order book look like that, and then we have the automated market makers just be ready to go, right? And I understand the market makers will also adjust as the prices go, but sometimes things move fast, so they'll supplement it with the automated market makers. Thereby, you always have tight spreads, and they're following the same rules. There's some crazy stuff that goes on in crypto. That's when I said, crypto people, something that the traditional finance does. Variable leveraged ETFs. There's another one. You appreciate this one. You know what a leveraged ETF is?
Yep.
And what the possible risk is holding it long term if the underlying ranges. Right? Price goes down. Right. Doesn't matter if it's bearable. Right. You can short the pair, and if the underlying is ranging, you will make money. Right? Short the pair, meaning the bear and bull ETFs that are leveraged. The crypto people figured out how to do a variable leverage ETF, where it algorithmically analyzes the volatility profile of the asset and it says this thing's doing this,
Right.
leverage equals 0, like 1-to-1. The underlying is doing this, leverage is up to 4x. So now you get to compound your returns. So they've mitigated that like volatility decay. It's insane. Like it's just, dude, you guys are thinking so much further ahead. So like as soon as crypto, it's already happening. Crypto and traditional finance are coming together, and there is the best of both worlds because crypto could learn a lot about traditional
So
finance.
look,
I'll shut up.
what you'll see
I want to hear what you have to say.
What you'll see is that all the ETF market makers,
Yep.
right, who are trading whatever it may be, right, they eventually, what's amazing is that we get to see the flow.
Yep.
When they need to make themselves whole, right, if you've got everybody's buying some ETF, XYZ, it doesn't fucking matter. You're buying it. There's market makers making sales.
Yep.
Some of it's public sales, some of it's him. He's making the market,
Yep.
right? At the end of the day, he finds himself suddenly short,
Yep.
right? The ETF itself, and by definition, all of these different stocks that are components in the ETF. He's got to come into. That's why we will see at the end of a day a massive flip to the buy side.
Do you remember February 5th, 2018? Volmageddon. That was the VIX ETF day.
Yes. Yeah.
So that was like a leveraged VIX ETF, whereby what you've just described, coupled with
They had to get whole, so they came
and they got
in and
front
bought.
run by the VIX people, and the VIX goes up. That means fear index goes up, which means I'm afraid and I'm going to sell my stocks. And you get this freaking had nothing to do with the fear index. It had to do with an arb opportunity.
Exactly.
So it was insane to me, like the mechanism by which somebody identified that, and it crashed 5%. It was a Monday, like I think it's February 18th. If I'm not mistaken, like because I wrote about it in my book.
What year? Which what?
2009, circa 18, 19, it's either 2018 or
2018
or 19, and it was early February. It's called Volmageddon, and it was a day that what you've just described, the guys that were short, like the guys that needed to get the ETFs at the end of the day at like 4:30 or whatever.
They came in to buy all the underlying.
Guys, the futures guys are sitting there going like, these idiots are going to have to buy a lot of VIX.
A lot of stocks.
So I'm going to bet on the VIX ETF by using futures because I'm just like a gambler. So they purchase a VTX, supply and demand, price of VTX goes up, so the VIX goes up. Now the VIX, unlike Tesla, is a mathematical abstraction formula,
Correct.
which is
It's made
represented on
to go
television
to zero.
as be afraid.
Right.
Sell.
It's just
now,
a psycho game.
What's crazy
but
about
it's built to go to zero.
Well, it doesn't
That's
matter.
why.
But what's crazy is it's built on taking like the options premiums from the S&P 500 in order to get its number, right? So it starts with the stocks. And out of the stocks and the stock options, you extract what the value of the VIX is. And if the stock options premium is going up, that means people are afraid, which means this one goes up. Cause and effect. What happened on that day, nothing to do with stocks. They were like, this thing is going to go up. I don't care about stocks. I'm going to buy a lot of these ones because those guys have to buy at the end of the day. So they shot it up, and the guys that were over there going like, why is the VIX going up? Does somebody know something that I don't? Is there a bomb dropping? So I'm going to sell my stocks, right? I'm going to buy some put options, right? And it was like, so it was just like, I don't know, man. It was just a great chapter.
All right,
But
let's go.
I love.
Listen. It's Einstein of Wall Street here on the balcony of New York Stock Exchange. One of the great days of all time. I'm here with Jaime Rogozinski. Some of you may know him, some of you may not. I don't really give two shits. But this is a monumental time for me. You know what goes on in here. I brought you food, finance, fashion, and absolutely people breaking ceilings and everything.
And you're about to bring a lot more to them.
Exactly. I'm here to let people tell their story. I'm here to help them tell their story. Stories that have changed the world in so many different ways. Perception, mind, psychology, markets, numbers. Forget about it. It's an amazing day for me. Welcome, Jaime.
Thanks so much.
My pleasure. So, just to give you a little background who Jaime is, I think he'll be a better way to tell you what it is. Let's go back. Let's think back 2020. Before 2020, let's think back to the meme phenomenon. Let's think back to COVID. Let's think back to GameStop. Let's think back to WallStreetBets. Ah, yes. What was that all about? I mean, how did it start?
Quite frankly, how did it start?
Did it start in one day?
It started. It did.
Did
start.
you wake up one day?
Everything has a day.
Okay. Tell
Everyone
me about that moment.
Honestly,
was it a different when you woke up? Was it a different kind of a day?
You're about to get a little bit of alpha. Something I've said, but not publicly as like this. Not a secret, but it's not something I usually give. But because you framed your question that way, I'm going to answer it sincerely.
Okay.
Right. So the motivation for me to starting Wall Street Bets were there. The timing, the post 2008 financial crisis, the Occupy Wall Street. I'd gotten a job. I wanted to get myself empowered. All these different things. But at the time, I was a struggling deep alcoholic, and my first I've only tried to be sober twice. The second I succeed, I've been sober for 10 years, 12 years or so. So but my first, thank you. So the very first time I tried that was when I actually created WallStreetBets. I tried on my own to quit drinking, and I had to fill in the time, and I said, you know what, this is what I'm gonna put my brain to. So on that day, so you're asking me what was the day? My day was, I see a problem, I see an opportunity, and thanks to me trying to be sober, I have some clarity of mind with which I can execute it. Okay. So that stint didn't last very long for me with the sobriety. Eventually, I got it taken care of, right? Which has then gotten me kids and a wife.
Sorry to interrupt you. So just so if anybody knows, when people get sober, there's a moment of clarity, right? That it can be the bottom. The bottom can fall out of the bottom, but the mind of an alcoholic and somebody who's dealing with addiction is an extraordinary thing. When that part of it, that entity is taken out of the mix, the capacity of the brain of somebody with that kind of smarts is extraordinary. And so you are suddenly in a new world.
I feel like I'm cheating.
You're seeing the world in a different place.
It's so much easier now. I was like, wow, life is easy.
Okay, well, have you never gone public with that before?
It's not a secret, but it's not. I don't say hi, I'm Jamie, an alcoholic.
Okay,
I do that when I go to AA meetings. Exactly, but like outside of that, I'm just Jamie. Right? Or if somebody offers me a drink and they insist, eventually I'm like, dude, I don't drink. Right, whatever. Okay. So that's the day that it started. So that's a bit of trivia for you. Since you give me the trivia about the coin that I love, that's your bits of trivia that you get the exclusive on. Anyway, so once I start WallStreetBets, it all of a sudden had this organic gravitational pull, whereby there were like-minded individuals who were coming out of nowhere. They were saying, I want to be a part of this. I want the same thing you want.
What year and what day was it?
2012.
It was 2012.
2012. Oh, yeah, it's. So
this is way before COVID, way before any of this stuff. We're talking 12. 12 was an extraordinary year.
2012 was when the recession, the 2008 crisis.
Right, was over. It was still in the midst. It took 6 years to get back to even. So it was in the middle of trying to get back to even.
It stopped bleeding, right?
Okay. And the bleeding was done. Correct.
But I had lost my job. Like I suffered the crisis.
Okay.
But now I am working as a single bachelor in DC at a bank, making what I considered to be like a lush 6-figure plus job, which back then was a lot of money. I don't know. I live in Mexico now, so I don't know if it's still good, but at the time for me,
it was a six-figure. Look, 6 figures is 6 figures.
I didn't have kids. I didn't have a mortgage. I didn't have anything. I was like, dude, I got money to blow now. I'm gonna get fuck you money. Since I heard you say the word, I gotta take a liberty to do the same. So if I get unemployed again, this doesn't happen because it sucked. Okay. Number one, that's one goal. Number two, if Wall Street was able to use if these investment hedge funds, whatever, institutions were able to use Wall Street like a casino, there is no. I read the rules. It doesn't say that it's only for Goldman Sachs. Apparently, it's free for everyone.
Correct.
So I'm going to do it too. And so my first effort was this self-absorbed, angry dissertation blog post about how these leveraged ETFs had the potential to ruin things, which, as I just referenced, prophetically came through. But I realized no one's going to read that because I might as well just get a tent and occupy Wall Street with the rest of them and complain about it. And people from Wall Street are going to look at me and be like, yeah, I'm going to play that game too. Let's gamble. Let's learn how to do this. And then eventually let's try and get, instead of us complaining, us meaning the 99%, let's get them to complain. I want to see CNBC say to complain. Not 5 or 6 years later, I think it was Josh Brown who called WallStreetBets psychopaths.
Really?
Right? Because at that point we figured out the infinite money
cheat code. He's a bad guy.
Not here to pass judgment.
My own personal thing.
Not passing judgment. I'm saying but that was a badge of honor. The moment he said that, WallStreetBets was like, we made it! Because that was the idea. We wanted to have the guys that are in that room to complain about these children playing with their fancy toys because we're using it irresponsibly. We're like, does that sound familiar?
This is not right.
Does that sound familiar? Irresponsible use of these fancy toys? That's right. They're not just for you. These guys at the time, when Josh Brown called us psychopaths, what they've done is they figured out an oversight by Robinhood by which they use margin and deep in the money, meaning strike one covered calls, which make no sense to a normal financier, allow you to double your margin, recycle it, double your buying power, so that basically with $2,000, if you repeated it, you could get millions of dollars worth of purchasing power. You can't withdraw it, but you can buy. And they would roll a dice on an OTM, 0 DTE, whatever, and they would say, if I lose, come get us. We're too many to collect. You were too big to fail. It's too many of us to come after. And I'm going to gamble somebody else's money now. It's our turn. And so that's when we got the system to complain. So it was like, Before GameStop, there was already a lot of this. Before GameStop, we made the cover of Business Week magazine because they figured out how to use stock options and all these gamma delta hedgers to manipulate large cap price, like Tesla, like Microsoft, Virgin Galactic. Like there was lots of they figured out with little money and using these sophisticated maneuvers, you could actually move the stocks.
Right.
So the front page of Business Week in February 2020, go look it up. It says a bunch of kids on like WallStreetBets are running this bull market because the stock should be going down since COVID is starting, right? So WallStreetBets was already doing a lot of disruption. Then, of course, it became a household name when GameStop took place because that was the amalgamation of all of this.
Okay, let me interrupt you. So I was here for the GameStop event, right? I was here that day. It stopped trading 29 times. Okay, my question to you is, that was the day. So GameStop, right? Bankrupt company, went to 2 to 20, 20 to 483, and right back down to 150 and 3/4. I have a photographic memory.
Jesus.
Okay, listen. Was there a concerted effort on the part of some disruptors within your community then to go out on the all-out attack and just go, we're going to start buying this stock that the world is short and disrupt the system?
That is correct. There was a lot that went into it. One of the one that you touched on was sentiment. Okay. Right? The GameStop itself was an iconic, a symbolic company with which this generation or this demographic could relate to. Video games. They remembered going there as a kid, and they liked the store. Right. And so they say, do not kill my store.
Okay.
I like my Disney World. This is my GameStop. Like, do not do it.
Right.
There was an adversary on television or on YouTube saying, "I'm going to short it to the death." So now you have your bad guy that can attack.
So the bad guy was the Wall Street, the sort of the.
Well, in this case, it was Andrew Left. He was the one that had the big mouth, and eventually decided to stop.
Okay.
but there were multiple hedge funds like Melvin Capital. There's a bunch of others. But yes, the collective entity was Wall Street, like the system.
Right.
There was a face. There were some individuals that were actually they were adversarial in a public manner, right? Communicating their adversarial status. And so all you have a motivated group to protect a stock that they like, where they then realize, holy crap, we can use some of these maneuvers we've practiced over the years to actually like short squeeze it. So yes, there was this emotional component to let's stick it to the man.
Okay.
Let's make money. There was a point at which that, unfortunately some of the knowledge that or lack thereof was one of the benefits that they have because some of these individuals don't understand the mechanics of the market.
Right.
They just know buy means good or number go up or whatever. And then
they just they wanted to join the party, hop on the train with everybody else.
And then the
they were the
sentiment
followers,
is,
right?
I'm not fucking selling was a thing that was being said. I don't care if I lose money.
Right.
And they wanted to make a statement. It was so much more about a statement than money to prove my point that it wasn't just about profiting.
80% of the people who traded it lost money, just for the record.
But and I'm going to give you a small demographic of those that said, I'm going to show you how much the money is not what matters to me.
Right.
I'm going to exercise prematurely my out of the money call option.
Right.
So, lots of words. You just look very, very perplexed, right? Because you understand why would they do that. And they were just saying because I'm the Joker in the Batman movie burning money.
Right.
I don't care. I am pulling buy pressure. These stocks are now mine.
Right.
I no longer own an IOU note. I have like the underlying, and I'm not selling this thing, right? So even though they lost money with
it's going to the moon.
Because they did this financial maneuver that not everybody understands, they actually lost one. They could have done a better job executing that.
Sure. But the money wasn't the point.
But they wanted to show the world. They wanted to put gas on the thing and light it on fire and say, this is us against you. So you're absolutely right. There was a concerted
so let's slow down for a second. So Jaime Rogozinski was the starter of WallStreetBets. WallStreetBets was a movement, right? Think about it. Wall Street is a very exclusive place, right? You needed to be an accredited investor to basically get yourself involved. It was sort of the white knights, not the regular people could be involved. The 1% of the 1%. To be an accredited investor, you had to prove, and you invested money in Merrill Lynch and Smith Barney, and your grandfather and your great-grandfather had to prove that if I lost 100% of this money that I'm giving you to trade for me, it will have no effect on my standard of living for 5 years. Well, who the heck can say that except the 1% of the 1%? Everybody with that sort of heavy weight on them, young people looking at the internet, looking at Wall Street, basically want to stick it to the man, decided, you know what? This game is over. We are going to get together, started by this guy, and we're going to disrupt this. We're going to stick it to you guys, and we're going to pick an amazing component of this market that had a lot of perception around it, a lot of psychology around it, a company that we all knew as GameStop. Everyone remembers going to that store, trading at $2, already bankrupt. And a lot of the big cocky characters in the game were saying, you know what, we're going to short this to zero because we don't care. All we care about is money. These people decided, you know what, go ahead, you do what you can. We're bigger than you, and we're going to take this thing as high as it's going to go. In fact, it's going to go to the moon, and we're going to prove that to you. We don't really care about it. And that's what ended up happening. What ended up happening was it went from 2 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 60, and 60 to 483, which is where it topped out.
Few people know that figure. I'm glad. I was waiting for it. I'm glad.
At 483, the volume on the upside was extraordinary. 90% of the people who were buying it up there ended up never selling it. They still own it along with Rivian and all the other meme stocks. At the end of the day, at 483, I remember it well, I was getting called from customers. The stock stopped trading, limit up, limit down, 29 times that day, where it was trading up at a dislocation of more than 10%, 29 times. We had to stop trading, reopen, stop trading, reopen. At 483, nobody knew what to do with it. The people who were short were losing millions of dollars. Citadel, the company that trades the stock, is the market maker in the stock, who backed Melvin Capital, who had the largest short position in it. I don't even want to go to it because it's Fugazi on steroids, okay? At 483, everyone wanted to know, what do we do now? I called my partner, David Green. I said, Dave, everybody wants to know, where do you buy this thing? Because it's starting to sell off. And he said, he's a master of technical analysis. He said, Peter, there is no support in this stock until 151 bucks. I said, it's trading at 483. You're telling me it's going to sell off 300 points before it bounces? Yes. It went from 483 to $150.74. Down $300+. It stopped trading. It went through 26 cents through that limit that David said was the buy support, $300, and it flipped and went up $62. Just for the record, that's kind of the dynamic what was going on. The disruption happened. The squeeze guys got screwed. You guys did stick it to the man. That empowered you and emboldened this community to a point that was unheard of.
What I did was hopefully what my hat's going to represent to the system, in case it's not visible. That's what we decided to do, and we pulled it off.
Okay, you did pull it off. It was amazing. And so what happened next? I mean, that happened on one day. Obviously, that one day morphed into a lot more. That whole meme phenomenon happened on multiple stocks, right? That whole disruptive thing started to bleed into other stocks. It bleeded into a high psychology about the fact is, you know what? The new democratization of the trading community, 50 million new traders are in the market. It's COVID. Everyone's got a stimulus package. Everyone's at home focusing on nothing but the market. Yep. Let's see who we can go after next. Whether it's BlackBerry, whether it's AMD, AMC, whether it's whatever it is, Rivian, right? At least 20 or 30 stocks went from basically
Hertz was a good
2,
one.
3, 4 to 400 and back down to 2. Huh. Majority of people lost money. I was then analyzing the volume versus the price on every meme stock that happened every day.
Well, you don't even have to traders, especially those who don't know what they're doing. I mean, it's a known fact that they lose money. I lost hundreds of thousands of dollars learning how to lose.
80% of day traders lose money.
I learned how to lose money.
Right.
And then I learned how to stop losing as much money. And then I learned how to stop losing money.
Yeah.
And then I finally figured out after a decade. Yeah. It was a learning. It's the best way to doing it is hands-on. You can read as many textbooks as you want. It doesn't matter. You have to actually do it. So, but the idea here isn't about, hey, they lost or they made money, because you know what they did is they walked away with knowledge, with experience, with a better stomach, right? Like the ability, their empowered knowledge to say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to crack this nut, or I'm going to give my money to a professional because it's not for me. But that was that sovereignty to make that decision and having that hands-on experience to be able to make that educated decision as to what to do with their finances is what they walked away with. So they lost money if that's a measure by which you want to measure the outcome, but they walked away better off than they started.
And I don't want to measure it that way, but what I want to know is a lot of people, there were those, and there were those in the inner circle, in the inner cabal, who, what did they do? What did they go on to do? I know they're roaring kitties, and there are people who made money and lost money and walked away with schmutz on their noses, people who made money and walked away and went on to other businesses. A lot of people got smacked around pretty bad and left the industry and never came back. for the most part, what happened to a majority of the people in the inner circle? Did they stay in the industry? Did they get angry? Did they keep hating? Did they suddenly, did they meld into it? I mean,
Inner circle of Wall Street Bets or inner circle?
yeah, inner circle of Wall Street Bets.
No. They moved on. Like, look, when Wall Street Bets is a philosophy, it's a mindset, is a way of life. It is a thing that people get tattooed on them because it's like buying a jersey of your favorite sports player. It's a way of doing it. It's not a short squeezing machine. I just explained to you an example by which they arbitraged infinite buying power, and they shielded themselves. I'm going to use fancy words that CFA people use. Asymmetric risk, which they arbitraged. The asymmetric risk was the inability to enforce regulation.
Right.
That's a lot of fancy words of saying we're too many.
Right.
You were too big to fail. We're too many to come after. And then
just saying that is so powerful. Just sorry to interrupt you. Too big to fail comes from 2008 when basically the Federal Reserve, when we ended up in the massive financial crisis,
billion.
which was 816 billion. Sorry to get one up to you.
I got corrected.
When the great financial crisis happened, which was a predatory lending situation done by bad people to good people, and they ended up buying credit default swaps against it and made shitloads of money while everybody else went broke. The Federal Reserve printed $814 billion to basically bail out all of Wall Street, okay? Basically, some firms, only one or two got thrown to the wolves. A bunch of them became too big to fail. That was the terminology that came out of the great financial crisis. Was Wall Street is now, I believe Wall Street is still too big to fail.
And that term, right? That term was used a lot. So that term became powerful. And
too
in
big
fact,
to fail.
I believe
there's
even
your
a movie.
line?
We're too many. We're too many to come after.
Too many to come after.
We're too many. Yeah. So that was your competitive advantage. That was your arbitrage opportunity. You have risk-free gambling opportunity.
Right.
So do we.
Right.
We just need to find it.
Right.
And because you're outsourcing it to a collective intelligence community that has the ability. They may not have gone to school and trained, but they're smart and they can learn and they're motivated.
This is called the street for a reason. This is the street, right? So, the street is what happens on the street, whether you're dealing nickel bags or what.
Intelligence is a thing, all right? The
is.
parable of
Collective
the ox is a thing. Google it if you're unfamiliar with it. Like, you ask 150 or 200 people how much the ox weighs, not a single person will guess it. But if you take the average of all the answers, they will get it to the decimal point.
Wow.
So, and there's scientific studies. How many jelly beans
are in the jar?
It's a proven collective intelligence thing. So you apply motivated individuals with intelligence and the capacity to learn quickly, and then you have the collective intelligence. We can do a lot of stuff. So to answer your question, it's like, what's next? What's the next thing they're going to short squeeze? Like, well, if they want to, first of all, it's now mechanically harder to pull off because the market learned from it. Second of all, that's not their purpose, and it's not.
That's not what I meant by. Sorry,
I know.
I wanted to know, but as a community, who at one point you're saying that community used to speak to each other.
Correct.
There was like a Discord, wasn't there? I mean,
there's
people
a Discord,
were
Telegram.
So that community was. There were levels of disruption. There were people who were on board. There were people who just went along for the ride. But then there was the cabal of the inner workings of Wall Street Bets that were sort of the smarts around it. They were the ones that made decisions because you needed someone to lead the pack and say, "Come on, guys, we're going in."
They made some steering decisions.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
But there was they set the compass heading, right?
Right.
But they didn't set the route. All right, we're going to go that way, but we can go around the mountain. It was up to the people to actually make the route.
Okay.
Roaring Kitty, right? Keith Gill or Deep Fucking Value, same guy. He was the face of GameStop. It was him, not me, that sparked that fire.
Okay.
And I can point out all the community members. It wasn't the cabal that told Roaring Kitty to do this. The cabal, all they did was set the rules, set the tone, set the stage, set the direction, and then allow the collective to pull it off. And so it was this kind of enabling sandbox by which we can do it. And I'll end with this, is you're right, you made some references to the Discord, and there's like this now kind of spread out and a little bit more discombobulated. I am now working on an effort which will soon completely do a seismic, it will be felt across every financial market, on every financial medium, whether it be whether it be traditional finance or crypto or both, or this is the same thing now, whether it be here or there. There is now an extremely powerful undertaking to do and to create and to empower this community to make it not only larger, but more powerful because of the greater capacity to do it. People that wanted to participate in GameStop needed to go through KYC. Some king in Korea couldn't do it. They
Right.
could just buy synthetics,
Right.
which wouldn't push the price up.
Okay.
So they had to sit on the sidelines.
Right.
But just imagine a GameStop where the whole world can participate.
Okay, so this is how you're
I'm just
alluding
giving you a
to
preview.
of what you're about
What's
to
about
do.
that? What is about
Tell
to
me,
happen
tell
is
me.
going to make GameStop look like a warm-up round.
Really? Okay.
That's all I'm going to say because I am short on time.
Okay.
And I have enjoyed
To
this
be
conversation. To be continued. and yes, and you will be very, very much in the loop, if not
You
as
left
part of
it
the
in
playing
a
field.
perfect spot. This is so exciting because now to be continued. It's
Yeah.
like an old TV show. It's like Mannix back in the day,
Indeed.
right? When it was always to be continued. You always hated that. You got to wait till tomorrow night to figure out what's going to happen.
No, back in the days until next week, right?
Hey,
You
next
can't even
week.
go to the bathroom. You couldn't pause
You
it,
couldn't
right?
even pause it or record it. Ladies and gentlemen, to be continued. This is like the best interview I've ever done. It is extraordinary. Just think about what the future has to bring. Everybody tells you here what they think was going to happen next. This is what's going to happen next, and that's all I got to say about that.